On tonight's program, we will be deciding the Battle of Empires, the United Kingdom of Britain against the United States of America. For several centuries, the Union Jack flew over the country across the world, from Africa to the East Indies and around to the other side to the New World. Then in 1776, something revolutionary happened. The United States of America breaks free of Great Britain, becoming the first colony in history to gain independence, and a country which will continue to become the dominant superpower of the world today. And so the question for debate tonight, is the United States of America the greatest country in the world, or does its young history pale in comparison to Great Britain, its parent country? Paul will be keeping a stiff upper lip, arguing for England, while Marty will, oh say can you see, if America really is number one. And so, 3, 2, 1, debate. To decide who will open tonight's debate, we will do rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Debaters? All right, Paul, you will open. You have 3 minutes.
Why is Great Britain better than the United States? Well, it's in the name, isn't it? Great Britain. I mean, never has a country been so easy to categorize, nor so richly deserved its name as Great Britain. There are many other names in the world, of course, that are synonymous with greatness. The Great Barrier Reef, the Great Rift Valley, the Great Wall of China. But what do these things have in common? Well, they're all just places. They're all just things. Great Britain. Now that's a global institution. Great in its own right, Great Britain has heaped its greatness upon many of the events of history. Back in 1666, the Great Fire of London was only so called because, well, it was in England, in Great Britain, greatest place on earth. It claimed 60,000 of the 70,000 homes in London. Didn't kill as many people, but it was tough to register just how many people died because the fire grew so hot. It removed all remains of the lower and working and middle classes. In that one fell swoop, we got answers to 2 things. 1, even if something is terrible, if it's in England, is it still great? Of course, the answer is yes. And who invented the Labor Day cookout? Well, as the Great Fire of London took place over the first weekend in September, that is, it was England and not the United States who started celebrating it some 300 years later, as I surmise. In history, there have been many great events. The Great War was another one. A border dispute between Serbia and Austria, 2 places that have barely existed in history until the Great War made them somewhere to be. Holidaymakers and visitors of Vienna for many hundreds of years have been thankful for their place on the map just because England declared war on Germany. These are the things that the world and history has to thank Great Britain for. If we go back to the 9th century, we can find that Alfred the Great was the first king of England and Britain. There are many great rulers in English history and British history. Edward, Elizabeth, Victoria. I mean, these are names which became synonymous with entire eras. Gladstone, Churchill, Margaret Thatcher, prime ministers that were...
Thank you, Paul.
God, I thought that would never end.
Okay, Marty, you're opening. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. You know, there are those I know who will say that the liberation of humanity, the freedom of man and mind, is nothing but a dream. But they're right. It's an American dream. The United States of America is often referred to as a melting pot, which I cannot say about my counterpart here from UK, because there are people from everywhere around the globe, including Canada, that come to live and settle there, bringing their cultures with them, different countries that make America truly unbelievable and spectacular to be a part of. The US is a nation of amazing landscapes. Again, not that I can recall of any that you could brag about. The totality exists in the US, from the Grand Canyon of Arizona to the volcanoes of Hawaii. Listen, we all know that tourists clamor to come to the United States each year to see all of these famous landmarks, including the Statue of Liberty. And newsflash, we left you for good reason a few hundred years ago, and you should know why. It's no secret the U.S. has the finest health care and some of the most cutting-edge medical advances for cancer research and Zika intervention, to same-day cosmetic surgery. American beauty has often been used as the standard by which many singles worldwide, especially in the UK, use to select a partner. But beyond the outer beauty of Americans are a population of people that love to work out, including running 5Ks. The generous spirit of Americans can be witnessed firsthand via volunteer efforts and quick response globally to both natural disasters as well as the tragedies set forth by mankind himself, from the tsunami of Indonesia to the 2010 Haitian earthquake to the terror attacks of Paris. I can't say that we saw any of your people there. The U.S. is always ready to act, selfless. And I'm sorry if it sounds arrogant, I don't mean it to sound that way. We're givers, not takers. Whether we donate blood to the Red Cross or send money to PBS to keep children's programming on the air, because seriously, we all really do love Big Bird, you know it's true. Our military, which now includes the ranks of many fine women, proudly serves not only American countries, but more foreign military bases are in countries all over the world, more than any other nation or empire on the planet in history. To be clear, thanks to the Foothold America program, various UK-based companies have been able to expand their own businesses in the United States. So you're welcome. And let us not forget, one of the most important facts is that the U.S. national bird is the majestic bald eagle. The national bird for the UK is the European robin. Kind of pale in comparison, don't you think?
Thank you, Marty. Paul, your rebuttal. You have 2 minutes.
You know, it's very interesting that you portray yourself as a country of givers. I mean, so far you've managed to give so many things to the world. I remember how you gave to the Middle East. I remember how you gave to Vietnam. I remember how you gave to Korea and so many other wonderful places around the world. And yet when it was really important, and it was actually your business, like the First World War that I mentioned earlier, it took you about 75% longer than the rest of the world to get involved, didn't it? Despite the fact that the Germans had been sinking your ships for 3 years. Let's not talk about the Second World War. I mean, do you guys even own clocks or calendars over there? It seems to me that, you just show up whenever. Whenever. What time do you start work? Midday? Probably. By that time, the English working man and woman has had a good 4 or 5 pints. Why? Because that's the only way work gets done in the afternoon. Okay, with a smile. And because we can take our ale, even at 5, 6, 7, 8%, as opposed to the sex in a canoe type stuff that you guys have. You talked about the national bird being the bald eagle. There's somebody else who's very prominent in your country right now who's also bald. What's his name again? Drumpf? Does that ring a bell? Is that familiar? I don't know. I can't really tell. He looks familiar, but he doesn't look right, does he? What's that on his head? Could you tell me? Could you possibly give me a clue? It looks like some kind of furry animal. Speaking of Sesame Street and PBS, Muppets, that's where you found him, right? He's a product of Jim Henson. I just want to say a big
Thank you, Paul. Marty, your rebuttal, you have 2 minutes.
It's really funny that you should mention alcohol because it's common knowledge that you guys can't hold your liquor, or you hold way too much of it. I mean, you have to drink so much to get through the day because there's really nothing else to do there. I mean, last I checked, it's not like you have Disney World or anything to offer fun times for families. I don't know what the bird comment's about. I mean, you need to let that go. I don't really hear a lot of what you're saying because it doesn't make much sense to me because I don't care for your accent. In fact, frankly, neither does the rest of the world. We find it really annoying and boorish. Laziness, that we start work in the middle of the day, you're joking, right? Really? I mean, you probably still have a steam whistle that you listen from the train stop on the corner when it's time to get up, and that can't be before 2. Eating habits, don't even get me started. Everyone knows that you're the standard for rudeness. I mean, come on. You can't brag about the royals being people that you would have over for Sunday dinner. Who knows where you're supposed to put the napkin or which fork you're supposed to use at what point? I mean, those are things that are trivial. They don't even matter. Why do you hold that in such high esteem? Why don't you do the things that really matter, like square dancing or the hokey pokey or going to the roller skating rink? Those are things that matter. Those are the things that bring families together. I know I'm right. Hay rides are for everyone here in the United States. You're too nationalistic. And if I have to get personal, I will. You don't own any dental floss, you don't have a tongue scraper, and you have really terrible teeth. And that's not just you, that's everyone that lives in the UK. I'm sorry, but it's true.
Paul, Marty's question for you is, we all love to eat good food. Clearly you have enjoyed a few good meals, but with meals like haggis and tatties, how do you explain why your people haven't succumbed to starvation? You have 2 minutes to answer.
Well, how do you defend something so perfect, yet so misunderstood? I mean, sure, we have some unusual names. I mean, with dishes like Cullen skink, Welsh rarebit, and spotted dick. I'd excuse you if you just thought of those as things you didn't want to hear from your doctor's mouth after you'd had a routine checkup. However, they are pretty amazing foods. I mean, you have to really love such cute and cuddly names like Angels on Horseback, Bubble and Squeak, and Stargazy Pie. I mean, it just things that imagination and dreams are made of. Now, granted, Stargazy Pie is a baked fish dish, which comes out of the oven with fish heads sticking out of it, but I promise you it is quite delicious. I mean, really, really wonderful to eat. There are also names that can be misunderstood. Toad in the Hole, for instance, sounds quite filthy at times when you consider it, but I challenge anyone, any American that's eaten a hot dog or a brat or an Italian sausage, to set those aside and find yourself a large bowl of bangers baked in Yorkshire pudding with onion gravy and not say, wow, I made the right choice. No toad, no hole, nothing but heaven, delicious heaven. Let me ask you a rhetorical question, Marty, while you malign my food. Who is the most popular, most sought after, most talented and most successful chef in the United States? Well, again, it is rhetorical. That would be Gordon Ramsay. Where's he from again? Oh, that's right. He's British. About as British as you can get. In fact, the guy's so British.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Marty, Paul's question to you is, being a fact that Paul's favorite pun has ever been, what is the difference between Americans and yogurt? Yogurt has culture, and given the fact its accuracy just makes it funnier, can you today mount a defense by offering a few shining examples of the United States' contributions to world culture? Surely the stars and stripes can be flown high over more than just a rock that is also a pet, and a series of movies where Eddie Murphy wears a fat suit and treats us to 200 ways of humorously passing gas. Marty, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I would be happy to. You mentioned an actor like Eddie Murphy. Are you joking, right? He's not one of our best. I will grant you that. But when you consider people like Marlon Brando and Bette Davis, and don't forget America's sweetheart, Julia Roberts, who's beloved worldwide, thank you very much, and Kate Hudson and Brad Pitt, to name a few, they all come from the United States. Films like The Raiders of the Lost Ark, Forrest Gump, The Graduate, Star Wars, and Goodfellas are all from the United States. As far as culture goes, I mean, honestly, I don't know where to start. 2 minutes is like not enough time. We have the San Diego Zoo, the Washington Monument. Don't forget Las Vegas, because you have nothing like that. Central Park, Lambeau Field, let's see, Legoland, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the American Ballet. So don't tell me about culture, Mr. Stuffy Pants, standing over there who probably never has a date on Saturday night. And don't forget about Broadway. I mean, come on. The Lion King, really? Let's see, how many years has that been on? And Les Mis, that we have on Broadway, that's been running for what, 40 years now? So you can stick it up your derriere because we have the Kardashians and Kanye West, and that's all the culture you're really gonna wanna have.
Thank you, Marty. Paul, your rebuttal. You have 2 minutes.
It's amazing to think you can defend your culture in such a way. It really is. I mean, to think that every terrible idea that fails miserably in the United States, there is one terrible idea which just won't quit. I mean, the country that brought us the hula chair, which obviously failed because not even Americans can say that sitting down is an exercise. You also gave us Venetian blind sunglasses, and the aforementioned Kanye is who we have to thank for keeping those in style, isn't he? He's pretty special, isn't he? You know, hair in a can spray, I mean, yeah, that seems more like 3D paint on your head, but grassy locks of hair that come out of a clay pot in the shape of a hedgehog, that's something that's culturally wonderful, I suppose. Okay. Well, while we're on that subject, Legoland is Danish, Les Miserables is French, and Star Wars is about as American as London. Perhaps most of you even forget that smell-o-vision even existed. It did. It lasted one film. And yet somehow, despite that stinky thing went away quickly, we still have to deal with the acrid stench of the Kardashians, which you also mentioned, go figure, who have been around for 200 episodes? Well, if that doesn't speak volumes about American culture, I don't know what does.
Thank you, Paul. Marty, your rebuttal.
You know
you
what?
have 2 minutes.
Okay, you know, I grant you a couple of those things might have been somewhat valid, you know. But you know what? Every country does make its mistakes. Am I right? I mean, we're allowed a couple faux pas, so to speak. And while I think about it, I mean, just because Les Mis came from you, I mean, we're the ones who made it famous. I mean, we have Ray-Ban sunglasses. We have Nikes. You don't even make great athletic footwear. We have Nikes. I mean, how can you not acknowledge something like that? We have Google. Google is from us, and Apple, and I don't know. You have me all. I'm a little bit frazzled right now because, again, I hate to hear your voice. It's like nails to a chalkboard, and it's very irritating, and I feel like I need some medication right now. But anyway, I'm gonna push through. Star Wars. I mean, I told you, right? And you know you love Star Wars because I heard you in that Darth Vader voice when you were in the restroom earlier, so don't deny it. I'm at a loss.
It's okay. I know. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're a bully.
Thank you, Marty. Okay, Paul, your closing statement. You have 2 minutes.
Well, I mean, I think I've proven one thing here today, okay? Britain is still great. Britain is around to stay. Britain is about to blaze its own trail, and as I said, with Theresa May at the head, Britain is about to go into a whole new millennia as the Britain that was historically great, no longer trodden on by Europe and its demands and its needs. I mean, too long we've been feeding them, we've been taking care of them. And in the same way that we shook off, the terrible burden of the United States 200 plus years ago, and we are doing the same thing with Europe today. Perhaps the guy with the chinchilla on his head is right. Perhaps in everything he said, there has been one underlying truth. One thing that has been forgotten, something that he wrote his whole campaign on. I mean, sure, he's got the ridiculous walls, and sure, he's got the ridiculous policies, and sure, he's got the ridiculous decisions about his cabinet, and so on and so forth. By the way, we've always been right in those. Margaret Thatcher, beloved by the whole world. That's how it's written in our history books anyway. But the furry-headed one, when he ran for his campaign, he ran on the back of one statement: make America great. And let me tell you today, we are willing to once again accept your application for re-inclusion into the British Empire. So if you decide to make America great, we will happily think about it for all of 5 seconds before we turn you down, because quite frankly, we don't want you either.
Thank you, Paul. Marty, your closing statement. You have 2 minutes.
Don't worry, Buster. We're not looking to come back over. So, and as far as President Trump goes, he's going to be impeached. Thank you very much. But there's one really important thing that I didn't bring up earlier, and I think it kind of sums it all up. Soccer. Nobody watches soccer. And the only reason you guys watch soccer is because it's the only sport that you have to watch. Because I don't know if you've seen the list of professional sports teams that we have here in the United States that people clamor to see all the time, from racing to WWF, don't forget, and mud fights and cockfights, and the list goes on and on, am I right? So you can take your hula hoop and shove it up your you-know-what, and stop talking about President Trump, because he's irrelevant right now, and it's my turn right now. It's not his turn. So put that down. It's distracting. I'm sorry. It's distracting. And don't forget about Disney World and Fast Pass. That was our idea. You're welcome on that too. So in conclusion, Velcro, I'm pretty sure that was an American invention as well. And go Packers, and Fenway Park. It's my birthright. Thank you so much. God bless America. I really love it here. Did I win?
What do you think? USA versus UK? Let us know. Comment below.